What's up, ladies and gentlemen, my name's Scythe, and today I am going to give you a brief but in-depth tutorial on how to mod in Trove. First of all, you're going to want to get your hands on a voxel editing program like Cubicle, Magica Voxel, or Zoxel, and for today's video we are going to be using Zoxel, although I will have links in the description below where you can get the other programs. Once you have Zoxel installed, you're going to want to navigate to your Trove Live folder. So first you need to go into C, Program Files 86, and normally there would be a folder called Glyph right here, but I have it in a Games folder. You will, of course, see it wherever you installed it. So then you go into the Glyph folder, Games, Trove, Live. Now that you're in the Trove Live folder, the first thing you're going to want to do is hold Control and double click on the Blueprints folder. The reason for this is, of course, it is going to open a second folder with all of the blueprints in it while keeping your main live folder opened. Now it's time for the most tedious part, and that is finding the file that you want to mod. All these numbers and dashes and stuff actually do matter as far as your search is concerned. Like right here, you can see that this is a butterfly moth brown, so that is the second butterfly that you can get as an ally. The boot melee toe would be the melee boot and its toe model. But overall, I find it to be very helpful if you have a search function, because then you can just try searching for something specific. If you're trying to look for a weapon, I find that it's a lot easier to look up the user who made it. So Folly, for example, has made quite a bit of equipment here. And then just narrowing down your search based on the name of the weapon or equipment. The tricky thing is that the in-game items are usually named differently than they are in their raw blueprint form. Like the Adventurer, who was later renamed into the Boomeranger, his raw files are still called Adventurer. So for the sake of this video, let's just grab the Dark Ranger's right shoulder. Now the reason that we had both folders open is you're going to want to drag this one to the side, click and hold the file that you're trying to mod, drag its blueprint over to the Dev Tool Dungeon Blueprint to QB. As soon as you let go, the program's gonna do its thing and convert it into a QB file. This, of course, will show up in your QB export. You cannot edit a raw blueprint file. That's why we have to convert it to a QB file. Now you're going to notice that it created all sorts of different versions of the one single file that you were trying to create into a QB file. So you're going to be able to delete the ones that have _A, entities, blueprints, S, and T. This is the main file that we want to deal with. So now you can go back to your live folder, create your own mods folder. I just created this one in here. It has to be created in the Trove Live folder in order to work properly. So here I've got a whole bunch of different mods that I've been working on, but for now let's just make a new folder, Test Shoulder, let's call it. Put your QB file in here and then you're ready to start editing. If you double click the file, Zoxel should open, but it's not going to open the file that you just double clicked. You're going to have to actually manually locate it by pressing the open button, going to your Trove mods folder, Test Shoulder, then opening the QB file. Now comes the part where you're creating something that's going to be put into the game. Middle mouse button rotates the object, right click while you're on this pencil in Zoxel will delete blocks, and then left click will place them depending on the color that we have. So of course you want to suck up the main color that we're using here. The paintbrush you can use to repaint over a block color, so don't worry about it. And this main block right here, this big purple and pink beautiful voxel, you need to leave that where it is. This, of course, is where the game recognizes that this is where the shoulder connects to the character. You're also going to notice this pink voxel on weapon handles and sometimes on equipment face masks. If you come across a face mask or headgear that actually doesn't have the voxel, you're going to notice that you can use this move tool to shift the model around, and then it's very tedious to go in and out of the game, in Trove, out of Trove, testing over and over to try and find out where the proper placement is for it to connect to your character appropriately. I found that even in the instance where a model doesn't have the purple block, you can just paint one in yourself, and then that is a lot easier to edit rather than just moving the file around like all over the place. Of course, I do want to mention as well that, remember, this is the Adventurer Dark Ranger's shoulder right. In order to modify a character, you are going to have to modify every single moving piece of that character. The Dracolite, of course, is the most complicated class to modify because you have to modify his robes, you have to modify his feet and his arms, and his dragon form as well. Inside the blueprints folder, you can also track down the abilities of each class. So this basic bomb right here is the adventurer's basic bomb. For the sake of this video, let's just say that this is done. Save the model and close Zoxel. Once you have it closed and ready, you're gonna want to do the same thing that we did before, where you click, hold, and drag and drop the QB file, but this time we're going to drag it into the dev tool convert to blueprint. This will of course create the blueprint file, and this is the file that the game is going to look for when you load up a mod program. Before that though, we're gonna need to create a new folder within the mod folder, call it blueprints with an S and all lowercase, move this blueprint file into the blueprints folder, back out, come to the blueprints, send to a compressed zip file, and only now can you name it whatever you want. So let's call it test shoulder 1. Now remember what I said earlier where this folder had to be in the Trove Live folder? The reason for that is because of this blueprint and QB converter, because it only converts the files inside the Trove folder. However, once you have your blueprints finished and done and ready, like right here, you can rename them and you can move this folder anywhere you want. And that's pretty much it. There's a link in the description to another video that I made, which is how to use mods in Trove, and from this point on, that's all you need to do. Now I'm going to briefly talk about how to get your weapons into the game, and I hope that I can explain this in a way that's coherent and quick. You're going to want to do all the same things that we did before, where you find your file, convert it to a QB file, and then create its own folder for it. Created weapons are a lot easier though, because you don't have to worry about the name of the object. You can just call it whatever you want. Just make sure that once you're finished with the file, you convert it to a blueprint, and then you can actually copy this blueprint out of your modded folder and right into the main blueprints folder that Trove uses. Once you're in game, just type /WP space and then the name of the weapon, and it will load onto your character as a preview. That is of course for testing weapon models in game only and does not affect modding. But if you want to be able to play with your game and have it as a part of your mod, just be sure to rename it to a weapon that already exists within the game and it will replace it. Hopefully my video made sense to you and now you understand how to mod in Trove. Of course, if you have any questions, I will respond to the comments. Links are in the description to where you can get all these amazing programs. And if you end up making a Trove mod creation, be sure to post that in the comment section below too, so we can all check it out.